The story of the Rouse Simmons, the Christmas tree ship that became legend. The Rouse Simmons, widely celebrated as the Christmas tree ship, is one of the most enduring legends of Great Lakes maritime history. For decades, this three-masted schooner was a lifeline for holiday cheer, bringing fresh evergreen trees from northern Michigan to the city of Chicago. Yet, its tragic sinking in 1912 forever intertwined its festive mission with loss, resilience, and enduring legacy. The origins of the Christmas tree ship tradition. In the late 1800s, Christmas was becoming a major celebration in the United States, and demand for evergreen trees to decorate homes and public spaces was rising. Chicago, then a booming industrial and cultural hub, was at the heart of this demand. The northern forests of Michigan and Wisconsin, rich with balsam fir, pine, and spruce, were the primary sources of these trees. Enterprising mariners saw an opportunity. Among them was Captain Herman Schuenemann, a seasoned sailor from Wisconsin. Schuenemann, who would later earn the nickname Captain Santa, began transporting Christmas trees by schooner across Lake Michigan to Chicago. His ship, the Rouse Simmons, became one of the most famous vessels in this trade. Built in 1868, the Rouse Simmons was a wooden schooner originally used for hauling lumber and other goods. At 124 feet long and 27 feet wide, it was well suited for navigating the unpredictable waters of Lake Michigan. Schuenemann and his family transformed the ship into a seasonal symbol of joy. Each December, they would sell trees directly from the dock at the Chicago River, often decorating the ship with festive lights and garlands to create a holiday spectacle. For many Chicagoans, visiting the Christmas tree ship was a cherished tradition. Families would purchase trees while enjoying hot cider and the warm greetings of Captain Schuenemann, who often gave away trees to those in need. The treacherous waters of Lake Michigan. While the tradition was beloved, the voyage across Lake Michigan was fraught with danger. The Great Lakes are notorious for their unpredictable weather, especially in late fall. Sudden storms could bring gale-force winds, massive waves, and icy conditions that tested the limits of even the most experienced sailors. Schooners like the Rouse Simmons were vulnerable in these conditions. Often loaded to the brim with heavy cargo, their decks sat low in the water, making them susceptible to swamping. Despite these risks, the lure of profit and tradition pushed many mariners to sail late into the season. On November 22, 1912, Captain Schuenemann and his crew prepared the Rouse Simmons for its final journey. The ship was loaded with an estimated 5,000 Christmas trees harvested from forests in Thompson, Michigan. Eyewitness accounts suggest the schooner was overloaded, with trees stacked high on deck and lashed to the rigging. Warnings of an impending storm circulated among sailors, but Captain Schuenemann, determined to reach Chicago in time for the holiday rush, decided to set sail. The Rouse Simmons departed Thompson under cold, cloudy skies, with a small crew of at least 5 men and a crew of lumberjacks that had bartered a ride to Chicago. As the ship traversed Lake Michigan, the weather rapidly deteriorated. By the afternoon, a fierce winter storm had engulfed the region, with snow, freezing rain, and gale-force winds creating perilous conditions. The last confirmed sighting of the Rouse Simmons came from the Kewanee Life-Saving Station in Wisconsin. Observers noted the schooner struggling against the waves, its sails torn and flying a distress flag. However, no rescue attempt could be made as the station's gas-powered boat was not present. Sometime that afternoon, the Rouse Simmons disappeared beneath the icy waters of Lake Michigan. The exact details of its sinking remain a mystery, but theories suggest that the combination of the storm, its overloaded condition, and the freezing spray weighing down its sails sealed its fate. The sinking of the Rouse Simmons in November 1912 sent ripples of sorrow and shock through the Great Lakes region, especially Chicago and Wisconsin, where the ship's story was deeply embedded in the hearts of its people. The aftermath of this tragedy not only marked the end of an era but also left an indelible mark on maritime and holiday traditions. When word spread that the Rouse Simmons had not arrived in Chicago as scheduled, worry turned into despair. For many, he had become a symbol of kindness and holiday cheer. Captain Schuenemann had a reputation for generosity, often giving away Christmas trees to families who couldn't afford them. His death left a void in the hearts of those who had come to rely on his goodwill, and his loss was felt far beyond the maritime community. Newspapers in Chicago and across the Midwest reported extensively on the tragedy, framing it as a heartbreaking tale of holiday joy turned to sorrow. Newspapers in Chicago and across the Midwest reported extensively on the tragedy, framing it as a heartbreaking tale of holiday joy turned to sorrow. Headlines mourned the loss of the beloved Christmas tree ship and its captain, solidifying the story in public memory. The maritime community around Lake Michigan was particularly shaken by the loss of the Rouse Simmons. Sailors, shipbuilders, and dockworkers recognized the risks of late-season voyages but mourned the loss of lives and livelihoods. The sinking underscored the dangers of overloading ships and venturing out during winter storms, sparking renewed discussions about maritime safety and regulation. Although no immediate regulatory changes came about as a direct result of the Rouse Simmons, its story became a cautionary tale among Great Lakes sailors. In the months following the ship's disappearance, evidence of its tragic end began to surface along the shores of Lake Michigan. Christmas trees bound with wire and ribbons washed ashore near Manitowoc and other coastal towns, providing haunting reminders of the schooner's ill-fated voyage. Among the wreckage were pieces of the ship itself, including wooden spars and fragments of the deck. These somber finds were often gathered by local residents, some of whom kept the debris as memorials. Stories circulated of fishermen finding trees tangled in their nets, preserved by the icy water long after the ship had sunk. In 1924, the captain's oilskin-wrapped wallet was found in a fisherman's net. For nearly 6 decades, the exact location of the Rouse Simmons remained a mystery. The discovery in 1971 in the late 1960s and early 1970s, technological advances in scuba diving and underwater exploration fueled a surge of interest in locating long-lost shipwrecks. Gordon Kent Bell Richard, an experienced diver and maritime enthusiast from Milwaukee, took up the challenge of finding the Rouse Simmons. Bell Richard meticulously researched historical accounts of the schooner's last sighting and weather conditions on the day it sank. Based on these clues, he identified a potential search area near Two Rivers, Wisconsin, a region where other remnants of the ship had washed ashore decades earlier. In October 1971, while diving at a depth of 172 feet, Bell Richard located the wreck of the Rouse Simmons. It lay upright on the lakebed, remarkably well preserved by the cold, oxygen-poor waters of Lake Michigan. The discovery was groundbreaking, offering a direct connection to a story that had become a cornerstone of Great Lakes folklore. The state of the wreck astounded divers and historians alike. The Rouse Simmons appeared almost frozen in time, with its hull intact and much of its structure still standing. Its 3 masts had collapsed, but many other features of the schooner were easily recognizable. Perhaps the most haunting discovery was the cargo of Christmas trees still stacked neatly in the hold. Some of the trees were wrapped in wire and ribbon, just as they would have been when prepared for sale in Chicago. The cold, dark waters had preserved the trees to such an extent that their shapes were still discernible, creating an eerie snapshot of the ship's final moments. The schooner's wheel, anchor, and rigging were also found at the site, providing further evidence of the ship's identity. Divers described the wreck as a ghostly scene, with the cargo of trees serving as a poignant reminder of the tragedy. Exploring the wreck of the Rouse Simmons posed significant challenges. At a depth of 172 feet, the site was beyond the reach of casual divers, requiring specialized equipment and skills. The water temperature near the lakebed was near freezing, and visibility was often poor due to silt and lake currents. Despite these obstacles, Bell Richard and other divers were able to recover artifacts from the wreck, including tools, personal items, and pieces of the ship itself. These items were later displayed in museums, helping to tell the story of the Christmas tree ship to new generations. The discovery of the Rouse Simmons was more than just a maritime achievement, it was a cultural milestone. For decades, the story of the Christmas tree ship had been passed down through oral tradition, books, and newspaper articles. The wreck's discovery provided tangible evidence of the ship's existence and its fateful final voyage. The Rogers Street Fishing Village Museum in Two Rivers, Wisconsin, now houses several items from the wreck, including a portion of the schooner's decking. These exhibits allow visitors to connect with the story on a deeply personal level. Today, the wreck of the Rouse Simmons is protected as a cultural and historical site. Divers are permitted to visit, but the site is treated with great respect. Efforts to preserve the wreck have been supported by maritime archaeologists and historians who emphasize its importance as a symbol of Great Lakes history and holiday tradition. The wreck remains a destination for experienced divers, and its haunting beauty continues to attract those who seek to pay tribute to the sailors and legacy of the Christmas tree ship. To honor the legacy of the Rouse Simmons, the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Mackinac began an annual tradition known as Operation Christmas Tree. Since the 2000s, the cutter has transported Christmas trees to Chicago's disadvantaged families, ensuring that the spirit of giving associated with Captain Schuenemann continues to thrive. During these events, reenactments and storytelling pay homage to the ship and its crew, keeping their memory alive for new generations. The sinking of the Rouse Simmons remains a powerful symbol of sacrifice and resilience. It reminds us of the lengths people will go to spread joy and keep traditions alive, even in the face of adversity. The legacy of Captain Santa, the Schuenemann family, and the Christmas tree ship has become an integral part of Great Lakes history and holiday celebrations alike. Though the ship's final journey ended in tragedy, its story continues to inspire, proving that even in loss, the human spirit endures, shining as brightly as the Christmas trees it once carried.